this close to crowning an NBA champ. And with the action heating up on the court is even hotter at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered every step of the way with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. Don't miss out as the NBA postseason winds down.
It's super easy to get started with DraftKings if you're a first-timer. Try betting on something like a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. It's that simple. The Mavericks are plus 170 underdogs heading into the finals, which is pretty interesting, especially when they have the best player in the series. And if you're new to DraftKings, you got to check this out. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code Jenkins. That's code Jenkins for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
5.
Welcome to Jenkins and Jones on the Volume Podcast Network. It is Tuesday morning, June 18th. The gang's all here to talk about the Boston Celtics NBA championship.
I know we're live, but are y'all doing y'all quick time?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Fucking call.
That's my bad.
Great call.
Go good.
For those listening to us on the podcast, we really appreciate it. I'm completely stalling for time while I open my QuickTime player and begin recording. Great job, John. John is the assistant. John's the assistant. No, don't edit it out. John's the assistant producer for this episode. All right. We all good to go?
Yes,
1 second. 3, 2, 1, and audio.
And all right. Okay. For those of you listening on podcast, you could have seen that whole interaction live. YouTube.com/@JenkinsJones.
That's fumbling, nigga.
Television gold. Obviously, only one topic, big topic to talk about today. I do also want to talk about Landon Donovan's hair, but the big topic is the Boston Celtics NBA championship. As always, Jenkins and Jones, hosted by LaJethero Jenkins, aka John.
What's that, Bubbas?
Dragonfly Jones, aka Tyler.
Hey, everybody, have a good.
I'm Guardy B, aka Mike.
Motherfucking
Mike.
And we're produced as always by the lovely and talented Jackson Safa.
What's up?
We got no Josh today. I'm assuming Jackson said, I'm happy to produce this podcast all by myself. Is that what happened?
Josh is on a flight, but I am happy to produce this pod all by myself. So.
Your Boston Celtics did it. Congratulations, NBA champs, gentlemen's sweep. How are you feeling, Jackson?
I feel great. I hate to say it, but I feel great. Shocker. I know.
You hate to say
it. Because I know this grouping of people right here feels as great as I do. I know Mike is like banging through his computer screen the joy is bursting out of him. But it
I'm
feels
just a
good,
little
man.
sick. I'm overwhelmed with joy. I'm just a little bit sick, so that's why
Right.
I'm not as effusive as you are. You know what I mean?
Yes,
that's all
of course. Yeah. It feels awesome. It is awesome to watch your favorite team win a title. It's awesome to watch your favorite team win a title when the prevailing narrative, and deserved in some capacity, was that they're just massive fumblers and at the worst possible moments. And right or wrong, and serious or not serious, from all the analysts over the last few years, there was so much break those guys up, yada, 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 all that. And like, it was genuine intensity from a lot of people. And even it wormed into my brain a little bit, where I was like, man, can this group really do it together? I don't know. I having like some slight doubts after losing to the Warriors in the finals, losing to the Heat the way they lost last year. And now Jayson Tatum has the most playoff points before the age of 26 or whatever, or 27. And he has more titles by this age than all these greats like LeBron. Like, it's amazing. It's awesome. And
it makes you wonder, like, if Robert Horry had been on those teams earlier in his career, you know what I mean? Like, like if he'd been able to play with greats like Jaylen Brown earlier in his career, like how many could he have gotten to?
Right,
exactly. Tatum's on that trajectory. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
yeah.
He's in that Jaylen Brown backpack and just being carried.
Let's not do that. Points per game higher, better player for sure. He had bad moments.
It's just gonna occasionally jump out of me. I apologize. I genuinely love Jayson Tatum. I empathize with his attempts to create an iconic video moment after the game. I genuinely felt that on a personal level. Like, I get it. You feel like you're supposed to deliver one of these moments, and you're trying as hard as you can. You know, God bless it.
He also did one at the after party. He did the Kanye West.
The after party was the worst one.
The after party was.
I didn't see them.
Yeah, what was the after party?
He did
Yeah,
the I forget the exact what is the exact wording?
I saw the
what if I never won?
Yeah,
what if we never won?
I guess we'll never know.
I guess
that
we'll
whole
never
thing.
know. Yeah.
I saw the fake ass KG commercial, the fake ass Bron Cleveland, this is for you moment, but I didn't see that moment.
Yeah.
Wait, so I saw the KG one, but we did it.
Yeah.
There was another one. There was a.
I
Bron
actually
one
have
too?
no problem with the we did it. It was the pretend surprise, and we did it.
Yeah, like
We did it.
dog, like, and that's a question I want to pose to you as well, Jackson. Like, this was just a postseason where they didn't sweat at all. Like, does this feel rewarding to finally get over the hump, being that y'all were just on fucking cruise control the whole fucking time? Like there was no point during this postseason where we were like, oh, Celtics back against the wall. We got to see what they're really made of now.
So that is why I think part of why it feels not quite as like amazing as it did to me when the Celtics won in 2008. I was also 12 when that happened, so that's part of why that one felt better. But you're right. There was no adversity. There was no
drama.
There was overcoming all the narratives that people had been talking about them for the last however many years. But
Right.
in terms of actual basketball, they didn't overcome anything really in the playoffs. They had one epic moment come back in game 1 against the Pacers. That was sick. Jaylen Brown's shot in the corner and winning in overtime. That was genuinely an amazing moment.
One of the best games of the playoffs for sure.
One of the best games of the playoffs. But then even in the finals, like, yes, of the last 3.5 days, there was a lot of like, ooh, the Mavericks about to make this spicy. And like, it kind of felt maybe like there was something happening. But it was 3-0 to 3-1. And in the game that they lost, it wasn't like they had a close loss that, I don't know, it's weird. It's straight, like overcoming a 48-point, and they didn't lose by 48, but a 48-point loss, more or less, strangely doesn't hit as hard as if they had overcome like a buzzer beater by Kyrie or something in game 4.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it definitely feels good, but it hasn't hit the same that I think like it could have if they had some multiple game 7s or something like that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, going back to what you said, I think that's my biggest takeaway is that this is a championship that kills a lot of narratives, right?
Yeah.
Like, we had the narrative, oh, the Celtics will never get over the hump. They went fucking 16-3 this postseason, cruise to the title. We had the whole narrative that Tatum and Jaylen just could never coexist. They just didn't maximize each other together. They balled the fuck out, this postseason. We had the whole Joe Mazzulla over his head, and he's looking like one of the best coaches in the league right now. So yeah, it's for sure a championship that, like I said, kills a lot of narratives.
I mean,
I think I think like go ahead, Mike. Get it out. No. I want you to get it out, please.
I mean, it kills the narrative a little bit about like, I can't believe you don't put Tatum in the top 5. Like, you know what I mean? It kills that a little bit too. This like them accepting the roles of Jaylen Brown as a leader, and Tatum is by far the best number 2. You know what I mean, in the league. Like, salute. And I don't even mean that as an insult, but like I told all my friends, I mentioned this to y'all last night. When those Finals MVP odds came out before the series started, and they had Jaylen Brown at plus 800, I was legitimately like, hey. I texted a bunch of my friends. I watch these games professionally. I am telling you, I do not fucking understand why the Eastern Conference MVP, who has clearly been their best and most consistent player this playoffs, is plus 800, and Jayson Tatum is the favorite. Like, go make your easy money. And that was easy fucking money. And I got like a month's worth of free lunches lined up off my one and only gambling tip passed off to my friends.
Shout out DraftKings.
I think with Tatum that he evolved a bit this postseason. I feel like, the whole knock against Tatum was, he ain't got that dog in him. He's not the closer. He's not the guy that takes over. And we saw him, the whole knock on him just being a guy who defers. And we saw him just pick Dallas apart with facilitating the passing in these finals.
Yes,
right?
And being willing to do that. I'm actually not even saying what I'm saying about Tatum, meaning it as an insult. I completely agree with you. His willingness to do that, there are a lot of star players who would not be willing to sacrifice their scoring or their stats or their Finals MVP for the sake of a championship. And his willingness to do that is why this was a boring series, in my opinion. Because it made them
didn't
so
he
dominant.
average more points than Jaylen Brown?
Yeah,
though?
he led
averaged-
Boston. He led Boston in points, rebounds, and assists. Only the fourth player in finals history to do that behind LeBron, Timmy, and Magic.
I don't think, to me, that it was like, I don't think his facilitating got in the way of his scoring. He was just shooting bad the first 2 games. It wasn't like he wasn't putting up jumpers, and I don't think he's the number 2. I think if he shot bad, he's the MVP by far. If he shot decent the first two games, like, I mean, he was abysmal. It's if. Yeah. I mean, if he shot like Jayson Tatum shoots, he shot 48% this year or something like that, right? You feel me? He averaged 30 in the series prior. You know what I mean? Like this, and in the games he played like Jayson Tatum, he was an easy 30 ball. You feel me? So I don't think he's a number 2 player. I think he just shot bad. And I think he did show us what else he could do as far as facilitating, but he still got his jumpers up. If he was hitting half of them shits, you know what I'm saying? Like, or half of the shit he missed, you feel me? Like, I feel like, you know, he would have by far been the MVP. You know I think in the big moments, Jaylen Brown was better. And I think that's why he won the MVP in the Eastern Conference, even though Jayson Tatum averaged, I think, more assists and more points. Yeah, because in the bigger moments,
the eye test for sure tells you Jaylen was the best player in that series for Boston. You know,
without question.
Right.
And last series too. I mean, I'm really not trying. Like I said, I actually do think it killed a narrative. I'm not saying I really don't mean it as an insult. I just think they found the organization of their team that works, and you felt it at times where it was like Tatum was a round peg they were trying to shove into a square hole or vice versa or whatever. And this works for them. This works that it's like, this dude can do anything. And if the jumper's not falling, he can drive the ball. He's going to get past a lot of people, and he can kick, and you can knock down open threes. He can play defense, which not every star player, obviously, if we're looking at the other team, is capable of doing. And he can still score 30 a game. But yeah, absolutely. Like, how many of these games were we texting at halftime? Like, Tatum he's 2 of 9 at halftime or something like that. And then maybe the
first
scoring,
2 games. Yeah.
And then the scoring comes along or whatnot. But I think Jaylen Brown, I'd be very curious to see how he's evaluated or talked about next year going into the season, and Joe Mazzulla deserves a lot of credit for managing a locker room in a way that you have that kind of transference of power in a peaceable way where you still win a championship that year. I'm trying to think of if we've really seen that before. And I don't know. I mean, it's a very difficult thing to manage though. And I do think Tatum and Mazzulla deserve a lot of credit, as does Jaylen Brown being, willing to overcome his Republican dribbling, as Tyler put it.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown's another dude who buried some narratives. They said he wasn't worth the biggest contract in NBA history. They said he dribbled like a Republican. That motherfucker was the best player on the Celtics this postseason, though, on the championship team.
He buried all the narratives.
Tyler, who said
they said dribble like a Republican? Yeah, I don't think it was they. I think it was
I don't know. I just heard it somewhere.
But like, it's even from moving beyond just like the media narratives, to your point, like, he had a lot of turnovers in the finals 2 years ago because they forced him left pretty aggressively, and he was the finals MVP this year. Jayson Tatum similarly had a lot of turnovers and didn't shoot well in that finals either, but also didn't have the, whether it's willingness or ability, either way, didn't have the playmaking ability or willingness that he has now. Like, that is legitimately impressive growth from both superstars. And I saw someone tweet it like, oh, who'd have thunk when these 2 superstar wings like reach their prime, they actually do get over the hump and win a title. And that's sort of how it feels to me. It's like, man, it's a little bit of a curse of being that good that young, making it to the conference finals Jayson Tatum's rookie year.
On the Celtics.
On a team like the Celtics or the Lakers or whatever, one of those big market teams.
Because if they made it with the Pacers, right? Look at how people are talking about Luka in Dallas, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh wow, like we're going to be right there for the next decade. Yeah,
right.
That's right. Not how people were talking about Tatum and Brown.
Right, and Jaylen Brown also, earlier in his career, was a very, very good defender. And then the last 2 seasons, as he had to take on more of an offensive burden, regressed a little bit defensively. And he was not, it was mostly Marcus Smart, but Jaylen Brown was one of the people who was guarding Steph in the finals also. And no one had the ability to stop Steph Curry in 2022. And now 2 years later.
Stop that nigga.
Of course. But now 2 years later, Jaylen Brown is doing as good of a job as I've seen anyone do on Luka Doncic. It's pretty impressive. And the thing that I was thinking about also is, to your point, Mike, about we can put the narrative to bed, is Jayson Tatum a top 5 player? He's not a top 5 player in the NBA. I don't think he's firmly in that like 6 to 9 conversation, and I think he's not going anywhere.
Which is great.
Which is amazing. Which is amazing.
Unfucking believable.
Which is unbelievable, right? But what I think is interesting about it is it's probably the first time since the 2014 Spurs that the NBA champion has not had a top 5 player. It's been LeBron, Steph, Giannis, Jokic, Kawhi. When they won it, everyone was like, "This guy maybe is the best player in the league." Like Kevin Durant. It's been since the 2014 Spurs. They've had a top 5, top 3 player NBA champion, and it speaks to Brad Stevens' roster construction. It speaks to Joe Mazzulla's coaching. It speaks to the personalities of all these guys. Like me and my dad and my brother have been just like, my dad is obsessed with Drew Holiday. I think my dad might get another dog just to name him Drew Holiday because he is like, this is the perfect encapsulation of what it means to be a Boston Celtic, And so, but it's one of those true, to use the cliches, sports cliche, it's one of those two true team efforts that is really like, it's what's beautiful about the sport when it comes together that way.
Yeah. I think Jayson Tatum's in a unique area where he's not a top 5 player in the world. But if you ask yourself, what players in the league can you win a championship with? This guy is the best player on your team, and Jayson Tatum is in the discussion, obviously. You know what I mean? Yep. So I think Jaylen balled out more this postseason, but I still think Jayson Tatum is the best player on that team. But back to what you said, I think Brad Stevens, bro, he deserves a ton of credit here, man. Like, I feel like if we have to point to like a single person and say what single individual is the most responsible for this Celtics ring, I think it all comes back to him. Like, and I think that the Celtics are a testament to stability, right? A testament to Brad Stevens being dedicated to stay the course with this core that he had. We saw him coach this team, and then he took that job where he moved from the bench to the front office, and it was a masterful move in retrospect, because it feels like he, looking back, it feels like he made that move because he was like, okay, I have imparted a philosophy in this team that the team has embraced. Now it's time for me to go out here, get in the front office and get some pieces. And he got some motherfucking pieces. He got Drew and KP, the acquisition last offseason that locked up a ring that won him 2024 Executive of the Year. And then, you look at all the storms that they weathered, the whole, do Jason and Jaylen work together? The whole Ime scandal which would have broken a whole lot of teams, right? Yeah. But like I said, again, a testament to stability. Brad Stevens says, nope, we're going to promote from within. We're going to promote Mazzulla, who was my assistant when I was coaching, because he's a guy who believes in my philosophy, and I know that he's going to still run with that. And basically Mazzulla ball is Brad Stevens ball, right? 5 out, exploit the mismatch, bomb from 3, tough perimeter defense, point of attack defense, right? Mazzulla ball is Brad Stevens ball. It's an extension of that. And bro, like, Brad Stevens is just, I think he deserves so much credit for this ring here. Just a masterful job. And like I said, in imparting the philosophy with this team when he was the coach, and then getting the pieces as a front office GM.
Yeah, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for sticking with Mazzulla too. You mentioned that, like, his patience and his faith in the people that he had in the building. But we talk about, the NBA has a hard cap basically on the horizon with the new CBA that they've signed. It's going to be a lot of tumult for a lot of teams, and not for the Boston Celtics. They're set up. We talked about this. Jackson already broke the bad news to me before. He's like, everyone comes back. Everyone comes back. Who's the worst player? Who's the best player that might leave, Jackson?
I suppose Sam Hauser could leave. He's a team option. Derek White out there, top 7 or top 6, but 7 including Peyton Pritchard, are all under contract for next season at minimum.
Horford might ride off into the sunset, but he's still got some good basketball in him, right? Like, he's nowhere near done. I still think he's got like another good season or two.
My guess is he attempts to come back to see if he can go back-to-back in college and then back-to-back in the NBA and then retire.
Oh, that's fire. Yeah,
here's my embarrassing diehard basketball fan admission. I was very emotionally happy for Al Horford last night.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Like I love it's okay to be Al Horford.
We have always said that.
I love Al Horford. He's been on some teams I really loved, and I was every time he or Drew Holiday had a big moment in that series, I was always like,
impossible to root against those guys.
Do you know he held the record for most postseason games without a ring?
Oh, yes. No, did not know that.
That's why I'm happy for Al Horford.
Yeah.
Do you know who's the record holder now?
No.
James Harden.
Oh.
Good old Jimbo.
I'm gonna tell you, buddy. He gonna hold that for a minute.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening for James, G.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening for James. You know,
Well, that does feel a little bit like the universe aligning.
Yeah.
You know.
And also, did you know that Jaylen and Jayson, they were the duo that had the most playoff games together without a ring?
Yeah,
at
I saw that.
107. Do
Yeah.
you know who now has that record? Stockton and Malone. So I feel like if you're looking for a silver lining here,
I appreciate this, Tyler.
Yeah.
I appreciate this.
If
This
you're
is
looking
like
for a silver
Theraflu. This
lining.
is like Theraflu for me right now.
Yeah.
I appreciate this. We have people tweeting. I have people tweeting at me all fucking playoffs long about how sick I was going to be when the Celtics win a championship. I am unfortunately, coincidentally, actually sick right now. So that was like a true.
Lucky put a
Theraflu
hex
shot.
on you. Lucky did some monkey paw shit with your ass, man.
All right.
Speaking of Lucky winning big, we gonna talk about Kyrie, man.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I want to talk about how wrong I got this series prediction, because I feel like a lot of it comes back to Kyrie, so we'll get to that. But I have always been the guy who was like, bro, don't overthink it. The deeper team with the better defense is going to win 95% of the time. But I thought this Dallas team was going to be the 5% perhaps, right? Because this postseason they went through the Clippers, and I was like, that's a toss-up. That can go either way. Then they went through, OKC, number one team in the West. I was impressed. Then they went through Minnesota. I was impressed because yeah. So it's like the whole, like I said, the conventionalism that I lean on about, oh, bro, don't overthink it. Defense and depth will win out against scores 90% of the time. That kind of went out the window because I saw, Luka go crazy, Kyrie go crazy, and beat better teams on their way to the finals, right? But the disappearing act that Kyrie pulled in these finals, man, I don't know. I feel like I feel like that's kind of, I won't say legacy altering, but it's kind of like, the dribble scoop layup shit is cute, but we've just seen, in the postseason that it just doesn't translate, that they can turn your water off really easily, bro. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know where exactly I'm at with Kyrie and the whole like scope of his career thing, but it's for sure something to consider.
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead. No. I think it wasn't even the defense too. It didn't seem like he got the shots he wanted. He just wasn't making shit. It was like we talked about a dude, you know what I'm saying, who's unfappable. You know what I mean? And
boy, people are having
fappable
fun
as a
on those
motherfucker.
clips. People are having fun on those clips on Twitter.com today.
He looked laughable as a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? We're like, it just seemed like the person we thought that if anybody could go to Boston and not give a fuck what Boston says is Kyrie. And that was the exact opposite, where he was just in his head the entire time. And I don't know, like you said, I mean, he looked incredible for a lot of the postseason. But I mean, if you really break down the series, there were some games where he just 6 here, 8 here. You know what I mean? Like it just didn't seem like he was the Robin they needed him to be at times. You know what I'm saying? So I think it was more in this series where they needed him to walk a tightrope, him and Luka, and he just was nowhere close to where he needed to be in the moments they needed him, like the past series prior, even when he had some rougher moments within games or series. So yeah, I'm with you on that, man. Like I love watching Kyrie play basketball. I think it's beautiful basketball. I will never forget what he did in the 2016 playoffs with Bron. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, you can't. This leaves a stink on the Kyrie thing. I mean, to a degree. I mean, to a degree, as well as the Nets playoffs against the Celtics. You know what I'm saying? So
I think as far as this one, to be honest with you, I think he did have a really good playoffs, up until the finals. I think it just happened to be, it's a matchup sport. You get a team that does not have a mismatch for you to attack, a team that is filled with good perimeter defenders. And you're going to Boston where you have all this history, and people are, I mean, I think it happened in the game last night, right? People are saying shit to him and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to expect from not being his head. I do also. I don't really see it, to be honest with you, as that big of a negative on Kyrie. I just think that was it just was the wrong series to end up in for him, right? And if you want to say great players overcome that, that's fair. But I also think watching him play with Luka, as fun as that was in the Western Conference playoffs, it kind of showed you how special LeBron is, to be honest with you, that you put any superstar player next to LeBron and he's going to max him out. And Luka's not yet at that. We talked about the comparison of LeBron and Luka at 25. Luka does not have that yet. You know what I mean? And so I think that's going to be key for him. Is they gave you a top 5 defense. You've got to figure out. I mean, obviously there's not a lot of predictable scoring. I mean, it's a lot of role players filling it out, but we saw Braun win with teams like that, right? So that to me is sort of it's going to be a key for Luka. Is you sense that tension of them wanting Kyrie to be the emotional leader. He talked a lot in interviews and in press conferences about, I'm the one on the team with championship experience, and Luka being the production leader. I don't know that works when you're a number 1, number 2 player in the world. I don't know that you cannot be the emotional leader, the guy who's telling, I'm going to get you into the situation that makes sense for you. So I don't know. I'd be curious to see. I do think they have some questions to answer in that dynamic going forward.
Yeah, I mean, and I
Kyrie, go ahead.
I was gonna say I do think that he is kind of we're going to always examine him through the scope of the whole best skilled crown that he's been anointed with, right? So how much does that matter if we're not seeing the production on the biggest stage? You know what I mean? Like bro, like I don't. If you swapped Kyrie out for D'Lo this series, like what does Dallas lose, bro?
Man.
Seriously,
come on, man.
Probably a 4-1. Probably a series is probably still 4-1.
You're right.
But I do think it's interesting. I mean, to the point about Kyrie's legacy.
We ain't gotta go there with it. But what I will say was, but I get your point. Like, that's what I was about to say. Is I feel like it wasn't like Kyrie missed makeable shots. These are shots that he makes. He's a difficult shot maker. They didn't play defense that he hadn't seen before. You know what I'm saying? Like he was missing makeable shots, and it wasn't like Kyrie was just not Kyrie. He was bad.
Was bad.
He was. This was a bad. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I say it leaves a little bit of a stink because at least the way I look at Kyrie, you feel me? I thought that the Nets series was an anomaly, and when they played the Bucks, he was hurt. I didn't. People was talking shit on Twitter. Kyrie, I'm like, he had one bad series. You know what I mean? And the Nets, he was hurt, and before he got hurt, he was cooking the motherfucking Bucks. Fuck you mean? You know what I'm saying? So they win that series if Kyrie's healthy. You feel me? So I'm like, I'm not tripping on that. But see, he had a solid playoffs. Like I said, there was moments where it's like, Kyrie don't look like Kyrie. He's passing a lot, you know what I mean? And I think they need him to be a little more aggressive, whatever. But they were winning, so nobody really tripped off of it. But this series, I think it was the first series where I was like, he looked bad. And in the finals, where they needed him to be at minimum himself, and he didn't look anywhere close to it, and they definitely need heroics for them to win, you know what I mean? But didn't were anywhere close to it. Like in the big moments, like nobody was scared of him. He make a shot here, and it felt like it was just a shot made. It wasn't Kyrie going on a run. You know what I mean? Like it just was like he seemed really affected, by the what was going on with Boston, was understandable, but it just seemed like he was affected by the lights.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting because ultimately it's probably just like an unlucky shooting performance that is just sort of why it looked so bad. But to your point about legacy, is Kyrie's legacy is centered around two things: being the most skilled player ever, quote unquote, and being a incredibly clutch NBA Finals performer. Yeah, straight up, like that is
just like the heaviest nuts in the biggest moments.
He beat the 73 win team, and the only reason he lost after that is because they added Kevin Durant. Like he is thought of as the guy to go to in the playoffs and in the NBA Finals. And it's probably just like a bad shooting stretch of 5 games that ultimately isn't actually a marker on his basketball ability. But he failed to come through in the moment that we all sort of, like you said about him being unfathomable. We were all like, this is his moment. This is nobody else's moment, but his moment.
Yeah. I mean, and you talked about I've been here before. Like, if anybody's going to show up, we thought it'd be Kyrie. You know what I mean? I thought Luka would do his thing, obviously, because he's just Luka. It's just impossible. But I thought Kyrie was, hey, Kyrie will at least be Kyrie. It just wasn't there. And so, like, I mean, it does leave a little stink. You can't have performances like that without leaving this thing. I still think he's fucking incredible. You know what I'm saying? I still, I won't take anything from him. He's a great playoffs and as a whole, but it leaves a stink when you have this, when you on the biggest moment, when your team needs you the most against a very good Boston Celtics team, you just seem to not even show up. And that's what happened. I mean, that's just a fact. You know what I mean? So,
okay,
and y'all know, if out anybody here, I'm the motherfucker that fuck. You know what I'm saying?
That's like, when have I ever? That's like, when have I ever defended Kyrie to you? But that's what happens when the Celtics win a fucking championship.
so what,
upside down.
What grade are we giving Luka for these finals?
I think it's I would first of all prevaricate a little bit. It's just difficult to evaluate guys when you know they're injured as fuck. You know what I mean? And it was clear. I think the criticism that he was playing up injuries at times that's probably fair, but it was clear that he was injured as hell. I was really bothered by Wendy and everyone like going on the defensive rant when, like, if you ever had anything fucked up with your ribs and your sternum, bro, like, standing upright and breathing is such an accomplishment in that situation. Like, I would rather play hungover with Dookie butt like Michael Jordan did in the flu game or whatever than try and do anything when something's fucked up with my ribs or my chest. You know what I mean? So I would just start out by saying that. I think you have to look at this in the realm of, we did not see a healthy Luka. And is it possible that if he comes back in better shape next year, there's a higher probability that he's healthy in the playoffs? Yes. But I would just start the conversation off with that.
Yeah, I think you absolutely have to consider that. But I mean, there was some times on defense where it was just inexcusable, regardless. Like, if he was a one-legged man out there playing the defense he was playing, like, it would have been inexcusable, bro. Like, just someone who just, I don't know, bro, was a traffic cone, during a lot of these finals. I was, and I think he had a really good postseason. I think he had a decent finals. Like, I'd give him like a B- on the finals, right?
B-. That's crazy. But go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
You would give him higher? Well, I
give him like a solid B. I give him a solid B. I mean, I feel like this, man.
Tyler's a harder grader than you.
For sure. But when you have,
you're rounding up at 82.
I'm looking. Yeah, I'll give him an 82, 83. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like when you have a player like Kyrie who just isn't showing up, right? Luka already has like maybe more responsibility on the offensive end than any player in the league. You know what I mean? And then Kyrie's not showing up at all. You're involved in every single fucking play. You're hurt. And then you have to go on the other end and really lock up. Like, of course you're a fucking traffic cone. You like, where they really need you is in the offensive end because nobody's showing up. You're the only guaranteed bucket right now. You know what I mean? And then you have to lock, nigga, somebody else can just step up. Fuck you mean? Where the help at, nigga? I mean, he's a human. He was hurt. He was hurt last series in the Western Conference Finals, and he's hurt this series. Like, bro, like, he's beat the fuck up. So he's a human. So I feel like, considering all of that, it's a B. You know what I mean? Like, but you can't give him any higher. They won one fucking game, regardless of the big moments he had in the series. Yeah. So, like, I feel like a solid B based upon like everything that was going on, and he was just basically sometimes just out there by himself against the Boston Celtics, against a team that, like we said, the worst player in the starting five could give you 30. Like, nigga.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Tyler, round it down. Why are you B-?
I think that, like I said, I'm gonna shoot him some bail for not being 100% for sure. But this defense, knock on him, is not something new. It's not something that we just brought up this postseason. It's something that we've talked about his whole career. It's something that Jason Kidd has addressed publicly. It's something that Jason Kidd said, we had to sit down with Luka and Dirk and told this man, defense is the next step you need to take to be an all-time great man.
He didn't turn it around, though. He didn't turn it around, and he was looking much better. Him and Kyrie the months prior. You know what I'm saying? This series in particular, he looked bad, but there was reasons behind that. We're taking the context surrounding the situation. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. Like, I've said this before, during the playoffs when I saw how great of a defensive player Kyrie was being this postseason. Like, you can be a great defender without being a great on-ball defender. And we saw how Kidd had schemed, Luka into being a good, off-ball defender in game 4, and we saw the effort that Luka gave. Like I said, I feel like so much of it is effort, bro. Just get in the way. You know what I mean? That's all you got to do, bro. Just legally get in the way and don't block.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
But I'm saying when your effort is required in a particular way on the other end of the court, he's a fucking human, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I say. But I mean, B minus, fuck it. Who gives a fuck? But I just feel like when I look at him looking like a traffic cone, I understand that being what is required of him in this game because nobody else is out there reliable on the offensive end. So
I think you have to acknowledge he did take a step forward defensively this year. You have to acknowledge what Tyler was saying about the effort in the finals, but also
for sure.
But also, I do understand on the human level, and it's his first trip to the finals, and he is a young player. The frustration around, I'm keeping up with my fucking end of the bargain. We weren't a top 5 defense in the league because I was locking up. So what the fuck? Now all of a sudden we don't have any defense, and it's my fault. But I don't have any help over here, and I don't have any help over here.
So I mean, what the fuck? You get to a point where you got to pick and choose. Where can I really, where am I needed?
Right, especially when you're hurt.
Especially when you're hurt, and you know what I'm saying, and you see what's going on the other end. It's like, yo, Kyrie's not here tonight. I mean, and you want me to do that, and you want me to really sit down on the other end?
Right.
Fuck?
But I think this is the thing about the playoffs. Game. It is a team game, and also we don't know the future. This could be the step to him taking that next step, or it could be that's who Luka is. He doesn't give a fuck on defense, and we are not going to know the answer to that question for 6 or 7 years. I mean, like that's just the truth of it. I don't feel the need to I acknowledge the plot point, and I don't feel the need to try and guess what direction he's going to go because I can see him going in both directions.
You made a point earlier where it's like this just look at who he has on his team, and Bron won with people like this. And I think that's bro, we can't expect this nigga to be Bron. He's not Bron.
He did have fans saying he's better at 25 than Bron. He did, and I don't want to hold someone
fans. I don't judge him based upon fucking idiots.
For sure.
You know what I mean? But where's what the dumbest people behind him say? You know what I mean? Like I'm judging him based upon what I see. You feel me? And the information I have. You know, I was like, yo, I feel like, we've seen Bron, you know what I'm saying, locked up on defense, do what he needed to do on the defensive end and still drop a 30 ball with some bums when he was only, you know what I mean? We saw him even in the finals. They lost the first one, the Warriors won. He averaged 38, you know what I'm saying? And still was, not a traffic cone on the other end. You feel me?
Right.
So, but he's Bron. You know what I mean?
He was
Bron.
already in the hyperbaric chamber and obsessed with sleeping 14 hours a night at this stage of his career. Yeah.
You feel me? Like, we see him in the offseason. He don't even buy snacks from the fucking vendor. He brings his own, bag of nuts and what, you know what I'm saying? Alkaline water, nigga. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Yeah. So I think for me, when I see shit like this, I don't think like Luka, damn, nigga, you nutted up. I'm thinking like, damn, Bron. I think like, wow, like, it's really,
that's how special
really hard to do what
we've
seen. Yes, what we've seen Bron do. So,
well, Jackson, congratulations. You mentioned, did you say this was only the second Celtics title of your lifetime?
I didn't. You did.
No, didn't you say 2008 was the only other one? Didn't you say that earlier in the podcast?
I said it wasn't I said it wasn't. It didn't hit quite as hard as the 2008 one.
As the other one.
As the other one, right?
Yeah, the other one. Yeah, those were your words for sure. Now I'm a little older than you, so it's the third Celtics title of my lifetime. And like I said on Twitter.com, I feel like that's probably got to be a great feeling for people. I don't remember as a Lakers fan because I was 4 years old when they won the third title of my lifetime, but the 6 titles since then have been absolutely outstanding. So I know a little bit of what you're feeling. And I'm very happy for you.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. That's about as earnest as you could get right now, which I understand. Yeah. You're down pretty bad.
I'm down pretty bad.
Brother. Your favorite franchise fumbled a college coach. They're banking on a 40-year-old man to lead them to a title.
That 40-year-old man is LeBron James.
They're banking on a 40-year-old man to win them a title. It's going to be Steve Nash. Latest rumor I saw someone say on Twitter is they should call Steve Nash. So Godspeed to you guys.
Oh. What's funny is you said they're relying on a 40-year-old man. I thought you were talking about them trying to hire a podcaster and dubbing him the next Pat Riley. I would say this one thing about sports that I like. I don't like that every coach in every league, it feels like, has 18 months to like figure it out or they get fired. I love the movement though that is creating towards younger coaches. I've enjoyed that about the NFL, and I'm enjoying it about the NBA. Mazzulla, how old is Mazzulla?
35.
35, yeah.
God damn. I knew he was young, but shit.
I think he was the youngest since Bill Russell to be to coach a team to a championship, which is pretty crazy.
Well, he was playing in the same March Madness tournament as Kyrie Irving.
Right.
Or not. I guess Kyrie didn't play, I guess, but they were the same class or something like that.
Kyrie played. He played one game.
Yeah.
They lost to Arizona.
If you remember that moment when Deshaun Butler blew his knee out and Huggins got down on the floor and comforted him,
I do remember
in that game.
Yeah.
Mazzulla was the point guard on that West Virginia squad. And Mazzulla being a Huggins disciple makes so much sense now when you connect those dots. Bro.
Dude, I saw a clip of Mazzulla being interviewed after one of their games. And did you guys see this? Where he was being asked because the West Virginia switched to a 1-3-1 that game or something. And it was really effective. And they asked him, like, what was that conversation like? And what's it like being coached by Bob Huggins? And he was like, yeah, I was just riding the bench so much my first season that I was studying the 1-3-1 and I pitched it to coach. And he was like, you know what? I think that might work. And then we implemented it and it worked really well. So like, shout out to Coach Hugs. And everyone was like, this guy was a coach basically when he was a 19-year-old. Like, what is this?
I mean, salute. I told y'all the craziest Mazzulla story I ever heard. We didn't talk about it on the pod though, but where he said, you know, he was still driving an old car and he and his wife were still living in an apartment. Like I think right up until he got the Celtics head job, at which point he bought a house, nice house. You get to say to your wife, like, thanks for sticking with me through the fucking grind. I was like, you know, cutting film 20 hours a day, whatever. And he said they were sitting up in their bed in this like mansion he just bought. And he like couldn't like unclench. And he was like, you know, we can't let this house make us weak. You know, like we have to overcome the house. Like we have to still keep our edge. And he said,
overcome success.
We have to overcome it. And he said his wife just looked at him and burst into tears. It was like,
that's crazy.
This is what we were trying to get to, you know? But I appreciated that when he was telling the story, he acknowledged, you know, it was like
tweaking.
He was like, being like this is not healthy. It's not great for the people in your family and the people around you. Like, and he's like, yeah, I'm talking to my wife and I was like, I probably need to get some therapy.
Like, but that's what it takes to be who he is at his age.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're going to fight you're going to have to fight for normalcy. You know what I mean? When you're that successful on this level, you know, at 35, that's crazy.
Yes,
but yeah,
for sure. I mean, that's a big deal to lead the Celtics to their.
Okay.
Come on, man.
All right.
Is it
18th, league leading 18th NBA championship.
18th.
Yeah, most in the NBA.
18th?
18th.
Yes, 18th.
And all of them in the same city, nonetheless.
Work out. You know, the city thing is such an adorable, like that's such a funny. I don't know, like who came up with that, but it's funny.
You know, for someone who really claims to support the Sonics, and when they got their franchise robbed, you really counting titles from multiple cities. It's interesting. It's interesting. Franchise history, multiple cities.
I don't think you could really compare the Minneapolis Lakers moving 30 years before we were all born to the fucking Seattle Supersonics being robbed.
You don't think you can, but I can, brother.
Are there any fans in Minneapolis who feel that way? If there were, I would acknowledge that.
Yeah,
I would acknowledge that.
Two things in the chat before we sort of
the Celtics did win several of their NBA championships in an NBA with 12 teams where they literally started in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's not discrediting in any way.
I mean, the Lakers also won a lot of championships back then.
So let's just count since. Let's count since.
What did the chat say? What did the chat say?
Let's
count since they drafted Larry Bird. I think the Celtics have 5 championships in the last. It was at 45 years or something.
I do have 2 things from the chat before we wrap up. One, that there was a handful of people that was loving Mike's sarcastic Celtics hate. We got a Mike Hater-Basio in the chat, and then there was a couple people who were happy I got someone said get him Jackie. A couple people were happy that I was fighting back, but mostly I wanted to bring up that Mitch said Jackson said 40-year-old like a slur about LeBron James.
It did feel a little disrespectful.
To 3 40-year-olds, he said it.
Right.
Yeah. Can you believe
the best of us? You know what I mean?
LeBron James, one of the good ones when it comes to 40-year-olds.
Right. Put a lot of stake on that for it to be LeBron James. I'll say that.
But yeah, like I told you, I'm very much looking forward to the media tour that Joe Mazzulla was going on. He's a dude who every time he says some weird, quirky shit, I'm like, I like this dude, bro. Like, I'm gonna read y'all a tweet from Keith Smith, NBA, who got this quote from Joe Mazzulla. He said, Joe Mazzulla was pointing at the TD Garden Raptors. He said, "There's a gap right there. You see that? I will look at that gap every national anthem. Now that's for 2024. And you know what? Points again, slightly to the left. There's another gap right there too. So, shoulder shrug."
He said he can't let the championship make him lose his edge, bro. No, 100%.
Right.
It's you have to be. I do think you have to be a total fucking psychopath to have that level of success. That's crazy. What time was that tweeted, Tyler? He probably said that shit 40 seconds after they won the championship.
Yeah, Cedric Maxwell said that man was crying. That was at 12:48. So Cedric Maxwell said that dude literally was crying tears to his eyes when they spoke before the game about how he wanted to win this shit.
Well, they're probably gonna do it again next year. So, fucking.
I think them beating a team that ran through the West in the way that the Mavs did. Like, I thought, like, okay, they had some layups. You know what I mean? Now we're gonna see what they really made of, and they smoked them boys. You feel me?
The West needs to get his shit together. The West needs to get his fucking shit together,
bro.
Listen.
We got too many good B+ teams, bro. Someone needs to be a fucking team that the Celtics are afraid of, and there was not one of those teams.
Yes.
Other than the Nuggets.
Like, I had the Mavs in 6. After that first game, I said, "Ain't no way in hell."
Bro,
it is levels to this shit. It is levels because, like I said, the what we saw from the way that Boston was executing and Dallas was just leaning back on hero ball. I was like, bro, no, it's two different leagues right here.
When we talked at the end of the Western Conference Finals, I was like, okay, the Mavs is winning. And then I sat with it for like 2 days and looked at the roster. And I was talking to Jackson. I'm like, God damn. You know what I mean? And so when we had the I'm like, there's no way. This is a fucking squad. You know what I mean? Like, we saw all the heroics. Ain't enough heroics for these niggas. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and then just game one, just basically stamped that shit. Like, yeah, bro. Like you said, there's levels. One team has good players. Other team has a good team. Like a great, they're a great team. Like, as far as how they're built. But anyway, yeah, man.
All right, that's all the fucking time we have for Celtics glazing. Basketball season is gone. Actually, no, the free agency window is open now. So from now on, we're only talking about free agency, which unfortunately will not involve the Boston Celtics since they return their entire fucking roster next year.
Also, whatever the fuck JJ Redick alluded to doing to Shams, you're on the clock now, JJ. What the fuck?
Hey, bro. Yeah,
you got to get the people what we want. What the fuck was that about?
Slow too. It's about to be slow too.
Address it.
Man.
Address it.
Is yours, my friend.
Yeah, that's right. At his Lakers introductory press conference. And one last thing.
Let me tell you something.
That whole ass nigga.
All right, y'all. I'm actually not 100% sure what the schedule will be, but we will be back soon, and we will for sure be going live after the next House of the Dragon episode on Sunday. We are going to try and keep the lives going. We greatly appreciate everyone in the chat at youtube.com/@JenkinsandJones for hanging out with us, and we'll see y'all soon. Bye.
Bye.